Okay, welcome everyone. We have a very busy schedule today, so I like to start, if you agree. 90 minutes, so hopefully at lunchtime we will finish. Today it's about business modeling and market analysis, mostly on business modeling, because the first thing I noticed when I prepared this that it's 1.5 hours sounds long, but it's quite short actually to go in detail. So I would like to start with today's purpose. This is part of task 5.2 of Agri-Food TEF. So this is part of the main task to support the nodes satellites on business modeling, exploitation. And today we will do that on telling you a little bit about the basics of business model canvas. And for some of you, it will be maybe more familiar than to others, but it's on purpose that we do this to get everyone on the same page, talk the same language. And yeah, hopefully it gives you also some guidelines to implement concepts for your own node, so the TEFs within your node. And yeah, that's also one of the goals of today to find out if that's really possible, because I did many let's say trajectories on business modeling and business support, and it's always quite complicated and takes some time, and maybe it's too much to ask, but yeah, that's actually what the task is, that we should give some guides and that the nodes themselves should elaborate on that. Let's see how we can do that. And the other goal of today, because I don't really have time to go into detail on market analysis today, but I will give you some outlook on it, and hopefully it's a cliffhanger for the next webinar. So today's program, it's I hope we can stick to the schedule, but I'm afraid that will be always difficult, but I'll try anyway. So I just talked about today's purpose, and we have a short introduction by a guest today, Francesco Martucci. I don't know if I pronounce it well. And he's working in different TEFs on exploitation, and he asked me if he could say a few words to make sure that we align with the other TEFs as well. So Francesco, if you can hear me, then please take the floor.
Good morning, Josh. Good morning, everybody. I will share, if possible, for 1 second the screen. No, it's not possible. I see I've got problems, but I will say it without showing nothing. Good morning to everybody. I am Francesco Matteucci. I work with Eduardo in FBK, and I have been here in the next 3 minutes asked to shortly introduce to all of you the CSA action, that means coordinating a support action, funded to support all the TEFs. I think you are all aware that it exists 4 techno-experimental facility. You are one on the agri, and there is one on the health, one on the smart cities, and one on the manufacturing. And the goal of the Commission, I say the goal of the Commission, consider that until the 30th of September, I was working at the European Commission within the technical part of the Commission under the European Innovation Council. So the goal of the Commission for the TEFs, the strategy of DG Connect, is that TEFs are part of the big strategy around the AI of the Commission. You know that recently it has been set up the AI Act office, and now all the, let me say, the different organizations are going over. You know that you also changed the project officer in your project. The goal of the Commission is to allow all the TEFs in the future, and here future may mean 5 years, 3 years, 7 years, but the goal is to have the TEFs becoming financial sustainable, independent. This has got obviously technical problem, business development problem, and legal problem. Starting from the, in this case, strangely, but the easy one is the legal framework. That means earlier or later, all the TEFs will have to identify a legal entity that in the future will eventually be able to make their services and their activities financially sustainable. I don't know if this will be done, but this is one of the discussion ongoing with the Commission in the next months. The second point is the business development, as this is one of the goals of your task 5.2 within Agri-Food TEF, but also in other TEFs. There is a goal to train people to start thinking since, in this case, month 20, on how to look for a business opportunity together with the TEFs. The third point is the technical one. That means which kind of services are you providing? You all know that you already prepared the second version of the catalog of service. These is three aspects. So the legal one, the business one, the technical one has been stimulated to the Commission by the different TEFs. And so the Commission last year made a call for the CSA. I think you are all aware that CSA in the Commission wording means that not a scientific or research or innovation project, but a project to coordinate all the activities of certain projects. In this case, it was the CSA to help the TEFs, all the 4 TEFs and the future TEFs that the Commission may fund, to develop a sense of community, a sense of business development, common activities, and a sense of technical services to provide to the customer. So Coordina TEF started a few weeks ago, and it's the project that exactly is the winner of this CSA action. It's coordinated by a consultancy company called Intelera, and there are partners, mainly the main partners of all the TEFs. So in the case of your TEF, FBK is partner of the Coordina TEF. To conclude, I am involved in the business modeling of the TEF. That is why Joss kindly allowed me to come here. And so within Coordina TEF, one of the goals is to have exactly what you are doing now. That means to have for each node of the TEF a person responsible for the business development, exploitation, valorization, innovation, call whatever you want, these kind of things. But this is the goal, to have a node person trained to make business out of the TEF, to sell services and activities, obviously with all the certification, with all the normative issues. So to conclude, the goal of Coordina TEF is to help you in activities, common activities among the different TEFs, such as stakeholder mapping, stakeholder engaging, having common KPIs, so to measure the development of all the TEF and start to and look how to help them, to interact in a more efficient way with the Commission, to interact from the communication point of view. Consider that the coordinator of the Coordina TEF in terms of communication activities is the same of Agri-Food TEF, so it's Trust IT. So to conclude, in the next weeks or months, through Joss, through Wageningen, you will be asked to join working common groups inside all the TEFs, just to explain to us where are your problems, where are your issues, where are your needs. And so this is the overall goal. To conclude, to combine the scientific know-how behind TEF and the business perspective is not an easy task. The Commission is very acknowledged about this. Unfortunately, there are not very good examples in other similar funded experience to the TEF. The only, let me say, take-home message that the Commission has taken has been, since earliest, we need to train people inside the different nodes to be acknowledged of what does it mean and which could be an action plan to make exploitable result become a business. Thank you very much. Obviously, happy to give answers if I was not clear. Thank you, Joss.
Okay. Thank you, Francesco. Very helpful, because indeed, in many TEFs, they will face the same problem. So if we can learn from each other, and we already heard from Gohar, who presented in the common group of TEFs, and she already brought back some experiences that we could use. So very helpful, and thank you for the introduction. I go back to my presentation, the program. So thank you. After this alignment with the other TEFs, I will go briefly, really briefly, onto the menu, because we discussed that in our bi-weekly meetings already. Then I will take most of the time for business modeling example. You already also have a lot of experiences with that last year, but to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Then I propose to have a short coffee break because it's a long session. And then I will take a short outlook on the market analysis, which I think it's a very interesting one. And hopefully, as I mentioned, it will be a cliffhanger for the next webinar. And then we have some time. Of course, we want to hear from you how I can help you and what you need. And hopefully we'll finish in time. Yeah, so very briefly on the menu. So to make sure that every node, as Francesco mentioned, can work on its own on exploitation and business modeling and market analysis, we developed this program, and that includes, I think, the most aspects that I also have used in many other business model trajectories. Also, the tools are familiar, I think, for people working in this area. But yeah, we will complement them with questionnaires so that you can easily use them within your node for the different TEFs. So today we have this 90-minute webinar, and we already noticed that one webinar will not be enough, so we will have the second one on market analysis. The links to PowerPoints and YouTube videos will be presented. I talked to Trust IT on how we can do that in the right way and that everyone can find them. And then we will have some homework assignments throughout the menu. And after this general webinar, I will, with people from my 5.2 team, work on onboarding every node. We already had one session with the Dutch node, and hopefully we can find the right way, because it's also, let's say, a discovery journey for us to find the best way to help you with this. So besides the general things, we have some side dishes. We try to set up also a kind of help desk functionality that's part of the dessert here. But I think you already have received this menu earlier. Otherwise, please let me know and I'll put it in the chat and I can send it to you. So this is actually more or less derived from the text, the proposal text. And so there are third-party AI and robotic solutions that can benefit from good testing and validation in real-world conditions, and that the result of that should be that they are adopted more easily and with less setbacks, so that we as European Union get more impact from these new solutions. So what we intend to do is empower innovators with these tools, and then make sure that good ideas and solutions also find their way to the market. So this means that, and that's sometimes a bit confusing, because who is the customer and for who are we making the business model, because we can also make business models for our customers. But in this case, as Francesco also mentioned it, our goal is to make sure that after the projects, all these TEFs and the agri-food TEF as a whole, and the other TEFs as well, can be self-supportive and continue. So we have to, today we will look at the node level, but of course we also have to look later on to the whole agri-food TEF level. So we have to think about the business model. What is it that you provide, to whom, and to how many can you provide it? So that's the market part, of course. So today we will have this first step in it. So we will do it step by step. I already got some feedback also from the French node. They said, yeah, okay, we have some partners who are not really interested to talk about business model because they just want to do research projects. That doesn't have to be conflicting, actually, but that it's good to know that how people are in this game. So what we will do as a task 5.2, we will provide somewhere on the website the recording of this webinar. We will have the follow-up seminar. We give you the links to the YouTube movies because there's quite some very instructive movies on it on the internet. The persons who visited Poznan in this project last half year ago know that we have an empathy map exercise, and we elaborated that with some additional questions. And there's also the value proposition canvas, which was not mentioned yet, but it's also a very useful tool. And then last but not least, we will also provide a questionnaire on the market analysis. Marcel Cornelis is in the lead for that, and we have the first draft of it, but we will elaborate it further before we distribute it. So this was the thing that we did in Poznan, empathy map. I'm not going into detail today, but you can fill in for your customer, and then it's also a reflection on yourself. How well do I know my customer? And sometimes we have the feeling, okay, we have an idea what they want, but if you have to complete it, you make it more explicit, and that helps in the further process. Then the value proposition canvas, it's a little bit, as you see in top, you see the business model canvas with 9 blocks, very small, and 2 blocks, the value proposition and the customer segments are, let's say, enlarged, and you can specify more precisely what is the job that your customer has to do. If they are, let's say, an innovator, what is their role? How do they have to? Mostly those innovators, they have a lack of money, so they have to sell quickly, maybe to the first launching their customer, to the end user, maybe. What worries them? What makes them happy? How can we develop products that take that into account by game creators and pain relievers, and that can be translated in products and services. But we will go into detail later on. Today we will focus mostly on the business model canvas. I tried to, because there's many examples around on the internet, I tried to fill it in today for a TEF, and hopefully it inspires you to maybe look at your business models that you already developed. Sometimes you developed for one TEF only, and maybe you have to do for others. So that helps maybe to specify it more precisely. So first is always the value proposition. It's in the middle of the canvas. And what value do we deliver to the customer? And it sounds very obvious. We do testing and validation, but the art in this business modeling is to specify it more towards values. So what are the real added value? What is more or less the present that we give to our customer for which they are willing to pay? So we have to be maybe the best in something, and we have maybe a unique quality that we can give to this customer. So, and then we discussed many times already about bundles of products or bundles of services. We can discuss a long time about it, but if we, for example, test an innovation from an innovator, then we probably look at the data sets that they provide, the algorithms that they developed. We test maybe whether the innovation can be used outside in bad weather conditions, or do they really do what they promise to do? So we test the performance. So we do a lot of services at the same time, and usually we present it as one bundle. We say, okay, we test your innovation. That's more or less what is meant with bundles of services. So that sometimes maybe for a customer you do only one service, you look at the data sets and validate them, but mostly we offer bundles of services, and that's where we focus on in the business model. So that can be different types of value, and to help you a little bit to get the right frame for it. For example, trust is a value that if your product is tested, then you are sure that it works under different conditions. Maybe it's certified with a quality certificate that helps the customer also to be more credible in the market. It helps to get a smooth integration of this tool to other tools because you use certain standards, for example. We might test it in our ELSA lab, and then we test it on the ethical, legal, social aspects. So if you do that, then you expect no fallbacks. So that's also a value that once you enter the market, you don't have to withdraw your product because something is wrong with it. What I mentioned already, the robustness in other conditions or in other markets. And sometimes it will help them to develop a product faster because you say, okay, the performance is not as you promise. Maybe if you do that and that, it will work better. And that can help the customer also to revise the product and get a better product faster. And we can, of course, give some guidance on how to work with data because we do it for several innovators, several companies. So we have built some expertise on that, and that can also help the customer for which data processing may be one of the many things they do. Now, for example, if you fill this in a business model canvas for a specific TEF, it's just an example. It can be very different for you in your case. For example, this value proposition is providing independent, certified, state-of-the-art tests and validations of the AI and robotic solutions. So it's independent, certified, state-of-the-art, and so on. And then ensuring robustness and smooth integration, so it works in different markets and different weather conditions, and so on and so on. And it integrates well with other tools without fallbacks. So more or less what I just mentioned, but now it's written down as specific for this TEF. Then the customer segment will, of course, be much more discussed in detail in the follow-up seminar, but it's important to include in the business model what are our customer segments, for whom are we creating the values, and who are most, do we produce for a mass market, niche market, segmented market? Do we have several customers? For example, if we have a funding body, then if they are paying, they also expect something there. So they are also more or less customer. Then we have a multi-sided business model, apparently. So I mentioned here two different customer segments, and this is already linking to the webinars. We can have downstream customers, and that's actually what was written also in the proposal and what we usually have in mind. So we do testing and validation for inventors, technology providers, agriculture machinery manufacturers. They have a new tool, a new AI robotic solution, and we test them, and that we hope to bring it to the market. That's actually very much relating to the goal of Agri-Food TEF. But interestingly, in the literature, we found also some claims that it could be very wise to also look upstream. And upstream, they refer to the let's say development funnel that is used in marketing from early development until implementation in the market. And upstream, it's more like that you not look to the innovators, but that you focus on related parties, related testing bodies and certification bodies, and work together with them to build a stronger case. And so you say, okay, we do this specific part of the testing, and another institute or another certification body does another part, and together we build a platform and have a very strong proposition. So we are not focusing right away on one lead user or one innovator, But we try to develop a bigger case, and we are then, let's say, open also to a bigger market. And for example, you can do this with this test and certification bodies, but also with robotics part providers. So you don't go to the full, let's say, manufacturers, but to the parts providers, and also to the AI development companies. It's very interesting to discuss that in the next seminar. Then the channel is linking the value proposition to the customer, saying how do you bring your product or your service to this customer? Is it through personal advice, or is it through this testing, or how do we do it? I will send this presentation later, so then you can read all the details. So the channels here in green text again, so you can bring awareness of your testing facilities in fairs, where there are many more manufacturers, like the Eurotier, who is going on at this moment. But you can use the ADIHs. They can also be the TEFs themselves, so it's maybe sometimes a bit overlapping, but if the TEF is separate, you can use these to bring your product to the customer. And then you can do the testing in your own lab as a TEF, but you can also go to the customer and test on site, especially if they have specific conditions in which they want to test it, and it will be more wise to go there. Customer relationships. So we bring the product there, but we also want to, let's say, get customers, keep customers, and grow customers. So, and for this, you need customer relationships. And how do you do that as a TEF? You can do that personal, through services, newsletters, yearly days in which people are invited together, your customer days. A lot of possibilities. Let's say, filled it in here now for this TEF. So you can say, okay, we do a kind of lead user development. So we form a development team together with our innovator, and together we, let's say, improve the innovation by testing and revising, and so on. Then we focus very much on this lead user. We can have a common market team. We can actually do the market analysis for our customer. Say, okay, this is really what the end user wants, so you should, let's say, develop the product in that direction. And if you are more in this upstream, then you could have a common test development team. So then you are improving your test facilities. So then you probably have a test development team who's more focusing on improving your own testing and validation services. And the business model canvas key activities. Key activities. So what do we have to do to make this work? Because now we have talked about how we bring it to the customer, but of course we have to make sure that we deliver this value proposition. So we have to make it in some way. And to do that, we, for example, we can do the end user market analysis and support, but we can also focus very much on the service development. And for example, if you look at the different, if I compare it with, for example, the labs where they develop vaccines, then you see that worldwide there are kind of ring testing. Yeah? So in vaccine development for animal diseases or for human diseases, they try to improve and they try to validate themselves by doing ring testing. And they test for other labs, and the other labs test their products. And that could also be something that could be considered for our TEFs. Then, of course, we need some resources to develop it. Physical resources, intellectual property rights, humans. Physical is factory, human is more the staff that you have, and you need financial resources. And I focus on the key resources. So in this case, you need of course, your facilities to test and experiment. You need good developers to make sure that you are state-of-the-art. And an agri-food TEF, or maybe an overall EU TEF certificate, could be a very valuable asset to have, and that would really, let's say, make your value proposition stronger. Then key partners, also depending on how you approach the market. Who are the key partners, suppliers, but also maybe the customers when you are co-developing. If you look at the key partners here, you have the downstream customers. So if you together go to the market and do market analysis and do testing, revising, then you are a key partner with your customer. Upstream customers, then together you form let's say, a strong development team to sharpen and to make sure that your service is state-of-the-art and the latest technology. Can partner for this with universities, again with the EDIHs, and of course you need equipment suppliers to make sure that you have the latest technology in your TEF. Then the cost structure. What are the most important costs inherent in your business model? And of course, that's the nice thing about the business model canvas, that the internal consistency of the business model canvas helps very much to improve it and to make sure that you get a very good overview of your business and your business model. So if you filled in all the activities and the relationships and everything you have to do, then almost automatically your cost structure follows from this. And there are tools also to quantify it, because now we only, let's say, visualize it by mentioning the different elements. But there's also tools actually from the developer of this canvas, who is now a company strategizer, and you can ask this company to quantify the business model. So test equipment you need to buy, of course, which is typically quite expensive, or building data sets, validating data sets, data warehouses. Staff is, you want to be state-of-the-art, so you have high-skilled staff, which is costly. Then you do the service development and training. Apart from hiring staff, you also have to continuously develop them and train them and develop your services. It's quite costly. And if you support your end user in market analysis and so on, then you, of course, also have to make cost for that. Then the revenue streams. So for what value are our customers willing to pay? That's actually already in the value proposition. But if you do everything right, then the revenue streams follow from different services and can have different forms. You can sell your services and ask for the time that you spent on it. You can ask a compensation for the market analysis that you do, or for developing questionnaires, or for sending out the questionnaires, or analyzing the data. But if you work together with other companies, you can also maybe license your service to other companies and have other companies maybe approach the market. And then you get your money from licensing. That's actually also the two streams that I mentioned here. So you can do the testing and ask service fees for that, or you can, let's say, give your technology and approach to other companies who are more, let's say, positioned to approach the market, and then you can get your revenues from the license fees. Withdraw.
I clicked the button for you.
Oh, you already did it. It's it's a concept that is quite common in the world of investors and also in the world of strategic marketing people to see what is the potential of the market. And although the concept is simple, to specify it and to quantify it, it's quite difficult because actually the early evangelist or the early evangelist, so the first one to use a product, the launching customer is sometimes used. That's not too difficult. But then what is the market that you can service, given the number of people that you have in your company, the market share that you can get in your region, what is the serviceable, obtainable market? And that's already quite difficult because, what can be your market share? That depends, of course, on what your customers prefer and if they choose you. And that depends on the quality of your product and the price level and so on, and the number of competitors. Then, so that's the second layer, and then the sum is the third layer, is the serviceable available market. So suppose you could get 100% market share. What is the potential there if you spend a lot of effort in being the best and being the cheapest and being the most customer oriented? You may end up somewhere in that region. And then the most difficult one maybe is the total addressable market, because that's, you can say, what is all those companies, all those machine manufacturers or innovators in Europe or maybe the world, that and maybe not only for a certain type of machine, but also for other machines that can be tested. Then sometimes the sky is the limit, and to really quantify it and to make a useful prediction from that it's quite difficult. So, but it helps because it starts a discussion on where to look at and what is your market share and how are your competitors and so on. So in that sense, it's a useful concept. So together with Marcel, we discussed and he came up with a picture combining 2 times 2 dimensions, but I couldn't explain it. So I took them apart again. So there are 2 angles with 2 dimensions. And maybe later on we will combine them again in one picture. But there's actually 2 ways to look at it. First is the uncertainties related to the technology and the market. And these are reflected in the technology maturity or the technology readiness level, and the maturity of the market for this technology. And then that's one angle. So if something is very new and the market is unexploited, then of course there's a lot of uncertainties, and estimates of what you can get out of this market as a TEF is very difficult. Then you need to have some questions which we will provide to get more insight in that. If there's a mature market and you have a new technology, then it's already simpler, but I will go into that later on. Then the second angle to market assessment is the TEF strategic margin approach. And I mentioned it already in the canvas. You can have 2 different dimensions in that. You can focus on downstream, which is, I think, what we do at this moment. But the nice thing is that there's a literature source, I will show it later on, saying that it's much better to have an upstream approach, because then you keep the more options open. You partner with a technology partner who's maybe also a testing or a certification body, and you specialize and you make sure that you are the best in this area, that's much better, they claim, than directing your development as a TEF on certain customers. Maybe if you are in a wine growing area, then it's maybe logic that you develop in that direction. But maybe this testing methodologies and approach can be used in many more areas. And if you partner with other institutes on that, you could reach a much bigger market. Because if you focus on this vineyard, you probably stick to this vineyard area. So this first angle, uncertainties on technology market, it's written in this 2x2 matrix. So on the vertical axis, you see the technology matrix, starting from the low technology readiness level to the high technology level. And on the other axis, the x-axis, you see the market maturity. And they also give some examples. So if you look at the, let's say, a normal engine that is in most non-electric cars, it's called the internal combustion engine. That's, let's say, you need fuel for that. That's in our area in Europe, in the developed economies. It's a very normal product. It's a mature market. You can buy them everywhere. And we have roads for it. The whole infrastructure and legislation is equipped for that. So then you are in the upper right corner. You have these vehicles in a developed economy. So it's everything is ready for that, and there's not a big technology uncertainty and market uncertainty. So if you develop something in that direction, then it's quite doable to predict what will be the market and how easy can you enter it. But if you do the same, use the same engine, and you go to developing economies, then maybe there's some problems with the roads or with the traffic lights, or there may be some reasons why those engines are not sold on the market. Maybe people cannot buy them, and then they start sharing cars, so then you get another type of service. So that's when you are in the upper left corner, you have a major technology because it's the same engine, but the market is less developed in that. Most where we are working in is in the, let's say, emerging technologies, and those are the two to the lower y-axis. So if you look again to the right, the lower right corner, you see the emerging technologies in a major market. And they have here the example of a drop-in fuel. So that's more like a synthetic fuel that can also be used in a normal car. So the market is there because the cars are there, but the product is quite new. But in that case, it's still, if you know how well they perform compared to the normal fuels, you can make a reasonable estimate of how they will enter the market. But on the, let's say, lower left corner, you see the emerging technologies in the emerging markets. Then you have what they call here a blank slate. So you don't know really what will happen. They give here the example of Hyperloop travel. You know, these vacuum tubes where you can travel very fast. You can go from the Netherlands to Spain in 2.5 hours, maybe, in vacuum tube. So that's of course a great technology, but we don't have the infrastructure yet. There are no tubes yet, and the technology is still very much under development. So we will not, or we cannot really estimate at this moment what it will be in a few years. So maybe there's too many obstacles, or the technology is still involving too many risks. So maybe we are not going to use it, or maybe there are no investors for it. So we don't know really how this will work out. So this, if we project this on this, let's say, total addressable market, then we can say, okay, in potential, there's a big market because there are people traveling everywhere by plane. People want to travel faster. So in potential, there's a very large market, but there's a lot of uncertainties around it. So we don't know if such a technology comes up, what we can do with it. And if you maybe transfer it to the agri-food world, we have this CRISPR-Cas technology. We also don't know yet as a new technology what exactly the potential is. We can use it for certain specific breeding applications, but not in general yet. So we don't know how it will work out. So that's one angle on the market. Then I go to the other angle, the TEF strategic market approach. So downstream, you have this end user orientation. So it means again that you focus your testing and validation on your end user. I don't know if you will do a market analysis for this end user, but there's a kind of what we sometimes is called the lead user development. So you form a development team together with this innovator or this agricultural machinery manufacturer, and together you fine-tune the technology and help this user to enter the market. And you the business and market support you supply for that. Maybe not, but at least you develop your testing and validation facilities to help this customer in the right way. That's the downstream approach. And so this source, Molnar et al., you see in the bottom, Journal of Marketing, they have compared many case studies, and they said, okay, if you really want to develop in a market, then maybe it's better to have an upstream approach, although we tend to do the downstream approach, because they say otherwise, if you focus on a certain customer and the customer says, okay, no, it's not interesting for us, then you have developed in a certain direction and you have spent a lot of money and efforts in that. But at the end, you end up with nothing because you have made something very specific for one customer. And of course, it will not always be so specific, but if you develop testing facilities to check robot arms in wine yards, then maybe more difficult, or you need another let's say set of resources to change it again to another customer. So that's downstream. So if in the upstream you say, okay, no, we are not let's say trying to get the market uncertainty away. We stay away a little bit from the market. We don't want to involve too much and focus too much on a certain market, but we focus on the technology. And I know that in many times we wait too long to go to market, because then we keep on developing and refining, and especially in business modeling, people say the best test is when you go to the market. The first customer, the first launching customer, really tells you if you are in the right track. But in this upstream approach, I say, no, don't get lost in focusing on the market, but make sure that you improve the technology and do it together with other, let's say, partners who are working on the same level and specialize in a certain technology. And then together with them, or maybe if the partner is a manufacturer who has already a really nice, let's say, opening to the market, then you can say, okay, we don't focus on the market, we just license our solution, or we just do our service for this partner and let this partner do the market approach. And yeah, that's according to this study, that's the, let's say, superior approach. But we will go into more detail in this next seminar. So that's actually what I wanted to say. So make sure to join the next seminar, next webinar, because then we are going to detail more about why it is important and why the one approach is, according to these researchers, is more beneficial.